Alexei woke up in a small wooden house on the edge of a pine forest, near the Siberian village of Krasnaya Polyana. The morning sun shone through the thin curtains, flooding his cozy bedroom with warm light. He stretched, shaking off the last traces of sleep, and took a deep breath of the cool air, filled with the scent of pine needles. The new day promised to be peaceful, and Alexei, a man of strong build with kind eyes, was already looking forward to his morning ritual, making breakfast for his family. He went down to the kitchen, where his wife Marina and their 10-year-old son Daniel were already waiting for him. Putting a frying pan on the stove, Alexei began to fry potatoes with mushrooms picked the day before in the forest. The aroma filled the house, and the crackling of the oil in the pan created a cozy atmosphere. Daniel sat at the table drawing something in his sketchbook, while Marina made tea, humming an old folk song. The family was looking forward to a weekend full of walks and games in the fresh air. But suddenly the silence of the morning was broken by a strange sound coming from the garden behind the house. It was a high-pitched, almost plaintive squeak, like a baby crying or an animal screaming. Alexei became alert, turned off the stove, and went to the window overlooking the backyard. Pressing himself against the glass door, he saw a small bear cub. Its fur was ruffled, and its large dark eyes looked at Alexei imploringly. The cub scratched the glass weakly with its paw, making that same plaintive sound. "Dad, who's that?" Daniel asked in surprise, running up to his father. "It's a bear cub, son," Alexei replied quietly, trying not to scare the little one away. "It looks like it needs help." Marina also approached the window, her face clouded with concern. "Alexei, be careful. Where there's a bear cub, there's a mother bear nearby. It could be dangerous." But something in the little animal's eyes made Alexei feel that he couldn't just close the door and go back to breakfast. The bear cub looked frightened but not aggressive, and its behavior suggested that it had come for help. Alexei put on his jacket, grabbed his old fur hat, took a deep breath and opened the door. The bear cub took a step back but did not run away. Instead, it let out another faint squeak and took a few steps toward the forest, looking back at Alexei as if inviting him to follow. "Dad, where are you going?" Daniil asked anxiously. "Stay here," Alexei said firmly, looking at his wife and son. "I'll just see what's there. If anything happens, I'll be right back." Marina wanted to object, but she just nodded, squeezing her son's hand tightly. Alexei stepped over the threshold, feeling his heart pounding with a mixture of curiosity and anxiety. The bear cub, as if understanding that the man had agreed to help, moved forward slowly, looking back every now and then to make sure Alexei was following. They crossed the garden overgrown with tall grass and entered the forest. Pine needles crunched softly underfoot, and the air was saturated with the smell of resin and damp earth. The bear cub led Alexei along a barely visible path winding between the trees. The further they went, the stronger the feeling became that the forest held some kind of secret. Soon Alexei heard a low, painful growl that made him freeze in his tracks. The sound was deep, almost desperate, and came from behind the thick blackberry bushes. Coming closer, Alexei saw the source of the growl. In a small hollow surrounded by bushes lay a large female bear. Her thick brown fur glistened in the patches of sunlight filtering through the tree canopy. But the beauty of the animal was overshadowed by the horrific sight. The bear's front paw was caught in a rusty iron trap. Blood had caked around the wound, and the bear was breathing heavily, clearly weakened by pain and struggle. The cub ran up to its mother and nudged her side with its nose, letting out a plaintive squeak. The bear raised her head, her dark eyes meeting Alexei's gaze. There was no threat in them, only fatigue and a plea for help. Alexei felt his fear gradually recede, giving way to determination. He couldn't leave these animals in trouble. "Hang in there, girl," he said quietly, although he knew the bear was unlikely to understand his words. "I'll try to help you." He approached cautiously, trying to move slowly, so as not to provoke the animal. The bear watched him, but did not growl, only occasionally moaning softly. Alexei crouched down next to the trap, examining it closely. It was an old hunting trap, rusty but still sturdy. The teeth were deeply embedded in the bear's paw, and every attempt to move probably caused her unbearable pain. Alexei remembered that he had a small folding knife and a pair of gloves in his jacket pocket, which he always took with him on walks in the forest. He put on the gloves to protect his hands and began to examine the trap mechanism. The trap was old, but the spring still worked, and it was not easy to open it without tools. Alexei found a sturdy branch nearby that could be used as a lever. He inserted the branch between the teeth of the trap and began to press carefully, trying not to cause the bear even more pain. The bear cub sat nearby, watching what was happening. Its large eyes followed Alexei's every move, as if it understood that the man was their only hope. After several minutes of intense work, with sweat dripping down Alexei's forehead and his hands shaking from the effort, the trap finally gave way. With a loud click, it opened, and the bear let out a weak growl as she pulled her paw. Alexei jumped back, ready for the mother bear to pounce on him. But she didn't. She just breathed heavily, looking at her freed paw, which was still bleeding. The cub immediately ran up to its mother, happily poking her side with its snout. The bear licked it, then raised her head and looked at Alexei. There was something in her gaze that he would never forget, a mixture of gratitude and relief. Alexei slowly backed away, giving the animals space. He felt his heart fill with warmth at the realization that he had been able to help. The bear stood up, carefully leaning on her injured paw, and began to slowly walk deeper into the forest. The cub jumped happily alongside her, looking back at Alexei every now and then, as if saying goodbye. Before disappearing behind the trees, the bear stopped and looked at the man once more. Her gaze was full of dignity and a kind of deep understanding. Alexei returned home feeling tired but also incredibly satisfied. When he entered the kitchen, Marina and Daniel immediately rushed to him with questions. He told them the whole story, and Daniel's eyes lit up with delight. "Dad, you're a real hero," the boy exclaimed. Alexei smiled and ruffled his son's hair. "Sometimes it's enough just not to walk by, son." That day, the family sat at the table for a long time, discussing the morning's adventure. Alexei felt that this incident would remain in his heart forever, reminding him of the importance of kindness, not only to people but also to those who share this world with us. The forest outside the window now seemed even closer, and its inhabitants not so foreign. Thank you for reading this story. If it touched your heart, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel to learn more about the wonders of wildlife.